10 to 15 seconds. Let's say you're in Florida. 10 to 15 seconds, I bring up 5.5 million businesses.
No, I know that I'm coming across energetic and passionate today. It's not because this is an infomercial. It's because we actually do use the product in our agency.
One of the things that I coach a lot of producers on, and you and I have talked about this, is on that 5,500 form. Most brokers I talk to, probably 9 out of 10, don't know anything about this form. What Leo does is it brings 40 million different businesses, commercial businesses, to the producer within seconds. We're mobile driven, obviously desktop driven. We're going to bring over the business information, everything from the classification to the EIN to other business information to the contact. You know, we've all heard that separation's in the preparation. And I find the most reason why a lot of agents don't spend that time is because they don't have time.
If you're going to build your funnel to look more like a cylinder, the better the data is at the very top, the less work you have to do to get it to that point.
We're using machine learning in the background. So every time you search in Leo, every time you use Leo, machine learning's running, and under the discovery part of Leo, we're building out a prospect list that looks like your interest. We're doing it by location and classification. I think it was 2 months ago, we added 5 million direct dial phone numbers and mobile phones into Leo. That 5 million is more than most of my competitors have in their database. I'm not putting them down. I'm just saying
Leo is a dashboard that aggregates all of the stuff we used to have to do going to 15 or 20 different sites. You know, some of the best producers that I know, Micah Salas is a good one. He's pretty active on LinkedIn, but I know for a fact he's dialing at 7 o'clock in the morning to contractors on their cell phones. Why? Because he knows they'll answer at that time.
we save you hours in a day using Leo when you're prospecting.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Power Producers Podcast, where we are refining and redefining the sales game. And I'm going to tell you what, we're talking to a guy today that's redefining how you prospect, and that is none other than the Senior VP of Leo, Mr. Scott Angell. If you've been in the insurance world for any length of time, that name definitely is not new to you, but you may not know much about the developments that Leo has made. And there is a laundry list of InsurTech superstars, like my good friend Frank Centner, who's involved in this project as well. And we had Leary, the CEO, on a little while ago, but I asked Scott to come on because, number one, he's going to be at Producers in Paradise for a really special event that they have been so generous to sponsor for us, a private dinner at Lola's Bistro. And if you've been to Key West and you've been to Lola's, you know how special that is. And if you haven't, you need to get it on your radar. This is a restaurant that literally only can fit 32 people into the restaurant, and the chef cooks in front of everybody with the ingredients on the counter while you watch. Gordon Ramsay went in a couple months ago and gave it a 5-star himself and posted all over Instagram. So we are super pumped for those agents that are interested in learning more about Leo to join us for that dinner. But more importantly, they're going to be at the general session as well. And I wanted to make sure that everybody coming to Producers in Paradise, and quite frankly, those of you who are on, I want to make you a little bit jealous that they're going to be there. And there has been some really good updates that have come out over the course of the last few months. And I wanted to get Scott on to talk about some of that and sort of the roadmap for the future. So that was a long intro for me to say, Scott, what's going on, man? We're glad to have you here.
That intro made me hungry, David. So anyhow, listen, I appreciate you putting us on. I really do. And we appreciate all the work that you do for Leo. And yeah, Frank Centner, the grandfather of InsurTech, know Frank for years. And he's part of directing Leo on our path. So we appreciate Frank very much.
So yeah, let's talk Leo, man. I mean, for those people who don't know what it is, and I think there's still probably an opportunity to get a little brand awareness out there for people who may not know. Talk a little bit about what the platform is, and then we'll get into some drill downs from there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Listen, let's start off by the goal of Leo. The goal of Leo is to help the agents separate themselves out from the competition, right? And what Leo does is it brings 40 million different businesses, commercial businesses, to the producer within seconds. We're mobile driven, obviously desktop driven. We're going to bring over the business information, everything from the classification to the EIN to other business information to the contact, whether it's the contact name, title, email, LinkedIn profile. And then we're enhancing that with insurance data, David, whether it's a 5,500, DOT, OSHA, the carrier, the broker, the workers' comp, X dates, all that different data, again, in record speed to that producer to cut out that time that they're spending or not spending, right, on separating themselves out from the competition. We've all heard that separation's in the preparation. And I find the most reason why a lot of agents don't spend that time is because they don't have time. So we alleviate that issue right there of getting that time in to really do my homework to look at a prospect and see if it's somebody I want to go after.
Yeah, I think, one of the things that I like about it is the ease of use and the interface. It's not one of these things that, like, look, I came from the old school where we went into Reference USA and we had
Yep.
to do advanced filters. And quite frankly, it's what I've taught people in Killing Commercial as well. You can go in and you can do it. It's free because you can access it through most local libraries, but at the end of the day, the data is not always 100% accurate. It's not easy to get the contact information and some of the other ancillary information that we prefer to have when we prospect. And I think that Leo does such a great job of making that an easy user interface, also at an affordable price point. I mean, I know it's tough to take somebody from free to paying something, but it's almost like you're not paying for it. It's so inexpensive at this point.
It really is. Our whole goal was to put that ROI there. If you can get 1 to 2 new policies in a year using Leo, you've paid for Leo, right? And there's a couple different offerings that we have. We have our main offering, we have our premium offering. So on the main offering, you're gonna search, you're gonna look for that key area that you want to go after, that key market you want to go after, that key state you want to go after. And then the other one is we can't match your book of business up and create that prospect list for you, right? So we're going to spin off the NAICS code or the SIT code within your management system, build out that prospect list for you. But our key product, 90% of our sales is on that searching product. And what we do there also, David, is we're using machine learning in the background. So every time you search in Leo, every time you use Leo, machine learning's running. And under the discovery part of Leo, we're building out a prospect list that looks like your interest. We're doing it by location and classification. And then another tab under discovery is sorting that interest by workers' comp X date. You can adjust that, go 1 month out, 3 months out, 12 months out. And our next feature, Dave, what we're going to do is we're going to alert the producer to new prospects that, again, in that discovery area that's matched up their interest using machine learning. We're going to send them an email going, hey, David, you have 10 new prospects that match your search criteria, and send it right to your inbox with a link right back into the data source that came from.
I think something that you skimmed over that I want to go back and talk about for a second is the integration with the agency management system,
Yeah.
because that's one that I think a lot of people have a benefit of rounding out their current book of business from. And I mean, I think it might be there's a couple of things that I look at that and think. Number one, I think the most obvious use case based on our discussions in the past is that you can go in and look at the NAICS codes of that business in our instance of Hawksoft of what we're writing, and then you can take that information, plug it into the engine of Leo, and it's going to spit out a prospect list that's based off of those businesses we've already been successful writing. Is that accurate?
You're 100% correct. And the fact that it's location based and classification based, you can use that customer of yours as a referral, right? It's typically within a 50 to 100-mile radius that's building that list out. So easily being able to use that as a referral. You're 100% correct, David. And we have integration with Hawksoft, AMS 360. We have a couple in the works right now. We have integration with Salesforce, with Agency Zoom. And as you know, we can download everything into a CSV file. So in your case of HubSpot, you can take that CSV file and upload that into HubSpot.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm really anxious to see if maybe at some point down the road there's an integration there, but I do know that you have a direct integration with several of the more popular products that agents use, Agency Zoom being one of them. Already mentioned Hawksoft. What are some of the others for the agents that are out there that aren't using this? What are some of the others you have that direct integration with?
Yeah, so I mentioned AMS 360 is one. Again, like you mentioned, Hawksoft. We have some Zapier connections that we're creating. We're working with the Applied team, working on Applied Epic and Easy Links on those platforms there. Some of them take a little bit longer than others to get that integration built, but we are working on them. Search Now is another one, or excuse me, Now Search. Now Search, yep. One of the key things that I do, David, I meet with hundreds of producers a month. And I get so many of them saying, "Hey, Scott, do you have an X date list? I need an X date list." And I talk to them, David, and that's important. You know that, and you teach that. But there's hundreds of agents that are buying that same list. So I talk to them about using data as a story. And I really think that's the key component of Leo. So we get to go in there and we get to look at their DOT really quickly. Do they have any crashes? Do they have any incidents? What's the level of those incidents? We get to go into OSHA, do the same thing, and then we give you a historical perspective on OSHA. We can go back 5 years, 6 years, even 10 years on that OSHA requirement, looking to see a couple things there. Is there any issues? But do they shop, David? Right? In that area, have they shopped brokers? Have they shopped carriers? We do the same thing on workers' comp. We can go back up to 10 years. Do they shop? Right? Is that a loyal customer? One of the things that I coach a lot of producers on, and you and I have talked about this, is on that 5500 form.
Mm-hmm.
Most brokers I talk to, probably 9 out of 10, don't know anything about this form. When I coach folks to look at this prospect, number one thing is, who am I going to go after? Now, I got that account, David. Who inside of that account am I going to go after? On that form, I coach them, who is your key contact? How long have they been there? Have they been there just last 2 years? Have they been there for 10 years? What's the structure of the employees? Is this a growing company? Is the company going backwards? What's the health of that company? I teach them to go to that form first. Is there a bond? Does their bond need to be updated based on the other information? And create data as a story as opposed to just going after X dates. And I think that's one of the most valuable things that Leo can do for a producer, is that data as a story.
Yeah, I think so. In the 5500 specifically is one that people typically don't know about going to. This is one of the reasons why I think it's so important that if you're a property and casualty producer, you have that ride along person that's a benefits expert or a 401k expert, because I'm a big believer that maybe the problem you solve isn't the one that directly compensates you now, but people have a long memory, man. I can't go write 401k, but I can ask questions around it. I can ask, when was the last time the investment policy statement was updated or reviewed? When's the last time that you took your fund selection and put the Morningstar style box over top of it to see if there was style drift? Talk to them about their fidelity bond. I mean, that's a crazy thing to think about, but a fidelity bond, which is maybe a $500 to $1,000 purchase, can get you $50,000 in commissions if you ask that question to the right CFO and find out, oh my goodness, we don't have it. It's not endorsed under our crime policy. We're not in compliance with ERISA. Can you handle that for us? I've literally closed deals off of that before. So I think it's really good information. You can see who the signers are. I think you said that, where that's going to help you identify, okay, this is a legit person. And maybe you have your list from another place, or you had an idea of the past where you were keeping a spreadsheet of contacts and you find out, oh, this really is the person, or, well, maybe I don't have the right man or lady that I should be reaching out to. Let's try this person and see if we have any more success. And I mean, that's just one example. How I explain Leo when I'm talking to the people inside of Killing Commercial is, to me, Leo is a dashboard that aggregates all of the stuff we used to have to do going to 15 or 20 different sites. And so if you think about it that way, and you're one of the old school producers that's going to Reference USA and the Department of State, maybe the property appraiser's website, and then I'm going to put a disclaimer, I'm naming things that I do, not necessarily all of these are going to be reflected in Leo's dashboard. But at the end of the day, I think about that, and I go back to the old days when I first came into the ranks as a producer. I would go work all day prospecting in person, and I would only have time to build my prospect lists at night in the evenings. Yep. And I would have legal pads, and I had a laptop with like 15 browser tabs open on it in an Excel spreadsheet. And I would have to go. This is before even dual monitors were mainstream, man. I mean, I'm starting to date myself a little bit, but I would have to go to a tab, copy, paste it into my spreadsheet, go to the next thing, copy, paste it into my spreadsheet. And I look back at that and I'm thinking, what a horribly inefficient use of my time, but there was no other solution out there. Leo didn't exist. None of the competitors of Leo existed. And so at that point, it was really the only way to do it. And I was still so successful in building a great prospecting list and getting in front of people and subsequently closing business. It certainly justified me doing it. But I look at it now, and I look at what it costs to have a subscription to Leo, where I'm doing this and basically going in and clicking a few buttons, and now boom, everything's there all in one place. It goes back to a fundamental thing that I teach every producer I talk to: know your hourly rate. If something is not going to pay you your hourly rate, either use tech to automate it, or outsource it, or delegate it to somebody else, because you're not going to ever advance and scale your book to where you want to if you're constantly spending time doing administrative things and other tasks that simply aren't going to pay you. Obviously, prospecting and prospect research is going to pay you, but I'm talking really, you guys are top of funnel, man. You're at the
100%.
top of the funnel. Everybody should start with you, then get into all of the other deeper dive stuff. I'm not going to sit here and represent to every producer in the country that Leo is the be all end all of every ounce of research you need to do before you go into an appointment. And I don't think that you would think that either, Scott. I don't think you would say that. But what they are going to do is they're going to give you the starting point, and you're going to get there in rapid fashion with relative ease.
Spot on. I always tell people, you got the appetite, I'm going to bring you the market.
Yep.
Right? What are you trying to go after? And I coach them all day long. And within probably 30 seconds, you're telling me the appetite that you have. I'm going in, I'm displaying that market within 30 seconds. The key contacts, everybody. You know, you touch a little bit on, there's been competitors out there doing some similar things. I remember doing Info USA at the library, brought my kids in there, one of the companies I had. They could download a CSV file and get that done in no time. There's no insurance information there, as we know. Leo's 40 million businesses. Some of our competitors have 3.5 to 4 million. We've made a concerted effort to go after the whole market for that small to mid-sized broker, right? So the producer that's going for the under 50 employees, which is very difficult to get that information on, we're going after that information and updating that information daily, weekly, monthly. For example, I think it was 2 months ago, we added 5 million direct dial phone numbers and mobile phones into Leo. That 5 million is more than most of my competitors have in their database. I'm not putting them down. I'm just saying we've gone a different route.
Right.
If you're small to mid market, that's where we fit. We also have the large market. The Fortune 1000 companies are easy to get data on, Leo.
Yeah, they're public.
David. Yep. Yep.
Well, it's funny too, because I tell people, you know, the reason I would never prospect the Fortune 500 is because there's only 500 of them, you know, and everybody's fighting over them. Leave that to the alphabet houses, man. That's what they're good at, and they should stay there. But I mean, I look at it even as if I wanted to have, and we do have, if I want to develop my small business unit, and maybe inbound is only bringing in so much, it's not difficult for that small business unit manager to go in and create a call list of the classes of business in the size and shape that fit into that small business unit, and bang it out on the phones for an hour or two every day, you know, is a block of time in between quoting and binding and servicing the stuff that they have. The other thing that we did, and I'm pretty well documented on this, is we like to use virtual professionals to call and set appointments for us.
Yeah.
Rather than us do the call list and have to continuously go in and do that. Not that it's labor intensive, but if something is so easy that I can teach a virtual professional who doesn't have any experience how to go in and create that daily call list of prospects, or that bank of prospects they're going to work for a week or a month or however, then it's just one less thing I have to do. And the ease of use is just it's so simple to use the product that our virtual callers are literally going in and pulling the lists themselves. We don't even have to touch it.
You know, it's funny. You talked about cold calling and doing things like that. So many producers, again, I coach them on, what would you rather have? Remember that old statement, what would you rather have, $1 million or a penny day double for 30 days, right?
Yep.
Which turns out to be what, 5.5 million, I think, after 30 days.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just, so I tell them, listen, compound it. Why not push 10 accounts in Leo, push them into your CRM, push them into your Excel file, whatever you're doing, there's an area where you can save them, build your own pipeline inside of Leo, and then download that to a CSV. But let's say somebody's on Agency Zoom. Push 10 of those into Agency Zoom. You can bring over the contact, all the business information, the carrier information, the X dates, the 5,500 data, the key contact, all that's going to push in there with one click. Do that 10 times a day for 30 days, and let's watch what happens, all right? Then the other thing, we're talking about going after markets. There's a lot of folks that are going after, let's say, construction market under 50 employees, which is a very kind of contentious market. How many of those are going to be in business next year, right, David?
Yep.
So we build out that list. Let's say there's 3,000 on that list. I show the producer how to click on the 5,500 form. Not that they necessarily care about that data per se, but we just built our top shelf accounts. Those are our top leads because we know that they're investing in their employees or investing in whether it's a 401k, right? A dental, vision, some sort of prevailing wage. So that knocks it down to say maybe the top 300. Then inside of that's your X date list also. So my point being is you can get the X date list, or you can look at data as a story, build your list, throw that 5,500 there. Who are your top shelf ones to go after, and then start dialing for dollars or marketing, whatever you want to do there.
Yeah, and I think that, one of the reasons why producers don't prospect as much as what they should from a cold call, whether that be on the phone or marketing drop standpoint, is they just don't know how to get that volume into the top of the funnel with accurate information. That problem is solved for sure. And I mean, even if in your scenario, let's say that you're going to download them into agency Zoom and you have an automation set up to get them involved in some sort of an email campaign or whatever else when that list is downloaded, now you're getting touch points and you're able to see if people are opening your emails, clicking on the assets inside and all of that. And from there, it helps you refine the process. I have said for a long time, I'm not a big believer in a sales funnel. I believe your sales funnel should look more like a cylinder. You want to get as much in the top coming out the bottom as possible instead of having it start with this wide amount. But you do have to start with a wide amount before you ever get them into the funnel. And I think that's where y'all sit, right? So
100%.
One of the things that I saw that I think has really changed, and you and Leary were kind enough and Sarah to jump on a webinar with, not webinar, but a Zoom meeting with me to walk through this, is some of the ways that you're able to go in and more easily search now. You've broken down the NAICS codes to a further level and some of the other stuff. And I think that there are a lot of people out there that when Leo first came out, and I know after we had Leary on the podcast, they're pumped, man. We sold the sizzle, and absolutely it was there because it was a better product and a better roadmap than what we'd seen from other people. I was very clear at that time, especially in my private community, that, hey, look, this product may not be 100% where you want it to be. You've got to understand when you're signing up for this that it's not going to be where it's going to be a year from now. But what I can tell you is this is a group that's building a product that they want to have sustained over a number of years to come. And at the end of the day, you have the opportunity to get their ear and build that product and mold it into what we really want that product to be in the marketplace. So I want to put a feather in your hat for that, because there's not a lot of InsurTech companies or tech companies in general that truly do listen to the constituency that uses their product. And you do. Now, listen, people, I want to be very clear. It's not one of those situations where, maybe you have some obscure request for your own agency that's going to work and it's going to, be turned into broad sweeping changes on the face of this software. But I think that by the fact you're willing to listen and have open and honest dialogue about things and let us tell you, hey, this is what we would do, or this is what we need to make your product better. I don't know of any other company I've worked with that's better at that. So, I think that is a huge feather in your hat, because others just don't do that. But to that point, some of what we talked about was being able to drill down into more specifics so that we were weeding out the stuff that wasn't relevant to us. And it goes back to what I said. If you're going to build your funnel to look more like a cylinder, the better the data is at the very top, the less work you have to do to get it to that point.
No, and we appreciate that. Listen, I have a phenomenal team. I had a lot of companies coming after me. I actually chose Leo because of the team, Leary and Sar, like you mentioned, a lot of our data scientists, and that top of funnel. I've always been in that net new logo acquisition, and I haven't seen anything else out there like this. So we appreciate that. We meet quarterly with agents. And if you want to be on that agent committee, I'm talking to people listening to this podcast, you want to be on that agent committee, reach out to me. I'm just Scott at Meet Leo. If you look to see what we just did with our commercial auto, what we did with the safer site and pulling down all the information, it's second to none. The information that you get, the detailed information you get within seconds is phenomenal. You talked about your hourly wage, right? If you're making 100,000, it's $50 a year. $50, 100,000, it's $50 an hour. 200, it's 100,000. You divide it in half, right? We save you hours in a day using Leo when you're prospecting. So again, that commercial auto was built out by the community, and we're doing other areas around there to build it out also with some nonprofit data we're putting in there. Lots of different information, but it comes from the user community that we meet with quarterly.
And I think that does nothing but bolster your strength in the marketplace as you continue to develop the product. So
Yeah.
I know that I can't ask you for the top secret stuff, but let's talk roadmap for a little bit. I mean, we know where you were, we know where you're at. Where are you going, man? What are the things you can share about what we can expect to see or hope to
I
see
appreciate that.
in the
Yeah.
coming months?
Yes, what we're doing is more on the user interface. So what you do is you get product market fit, right? And then you solidify that, which is what we've done. A lot of that's the data area. So now we're going to come out with we're going to institute chat in with our email templates. We've created some email templates for those people that don't have a CRM, and we're utilizing some chat features into those templates. We're also let me see how I structure this one. We've hired some people from companies that data mine probably the best in the world, business and contact information. And we're doing some algorithms and some secret sauce stuff behind the scenes on contact data. We know that that's what the producer wants. I don't want to call somebody up and sorry, but he died 10 years ago. We don't want that experience in Leo, right? We've all been faced with that. You and I both, David. So we're spending a lot of time and a lot of algorithms, a lot of AI on the contact database, and you'll probably see that come to play in about 3 to 4 months. It was a big project we've been working on for the last year, actually.
Wow. So if I'm a producer, let's talk about the journey. And obviously we're on a podcast, so we can't do a demo, but maybe just walk them through how quickly, what are the steps that it would take for them to build that first solid lead list for
Sure.
top of funnel
Sure.
stuff?
Okay, so let's search by location, right? You can search by state, county, city, you can do things like that. So let's get our location set or multiple locations, multiple states. That's the other thing that's unique too, is we allow you to search the whole database. We don't put a precursor on, you can only have 2 states, 5 states. The whole database is open to the community. So we put in our states we want to go after, we put in our area we want to go after, and then that search criteria that you talked about, David, that easier searching by the NAICS code or groups of NAICS codes, putting that in there, and let's put our range. Are you mid-market? Are you small market? Are you large market? Let's put it in those range, either by employee size or revenue size. Do you want to target a carrier? Do you want to target a broker? If there's somebody out there that you compete better against, let's put that information in there. And then again, that data is a story. Do you want to research specifically on leave it open, or do you want DOT, OSHA, 5500, nonprofit? What data do you want to target, or leave it wide open and target it all? You push go, and really within a second or so data, you've developed your data list right there.
And literally, how long did it take you to do that?
Look, I can get it done in 10 to 15 seconds. 10 to 15 seconds. Let's say you're in Florida. 10 to 15 seconds, I bring up 5.5 million businesses.
I don't think I could even get into the first website that I needed to the old way in 10 to 15 seconds.
And then lastly on that, when you click on a prospect, we have something kind of a Google corporate search. So you're going to click on that. We have a link to Google in there, but it's structured that everything on that page would be about killing commercial. There's no ads, there's no interference, there's no March Madness. It's all killing commercial. So again, we keep you focused. We tend to have the ADD personalities in the producer community. We keep you focused exactly on that search that you're searching for. So again, just expediting that search for data, making it quicker and easier.
And I think one thing that you mentioned too, that also you kind of glossed over, and I don't know, some people think this is a controversial topic. I really don't. But you have the ability for some of these to put mobile phone numbers in there for the contacts. And, I've seen people go back and forth on this, on LinkedIn, and even some of the agency groups inside of Facebook and stuff. But here's the thing. I don't even have a landline. Like, if you want to get a hold of me, you have to call me on a cell phone, and I'm 50. So I feel like I'm in the older group of the people who would be that way. But I think people think it's weird that you know, to call a business owner or whoever on their mobile device. The reality is that may be the primary mode of communication that person has. And you know what? If you're worried about calling them and worried about them asking you not to call them again or whatever else, that's just an excuse for you to justify your own call reluctance. Those people probably didn't want you intruding on their day when they were, you know, sitting at their desk working, or, you know, leaving voicemails and asking that they call you back at night. So I think it's interesting. I mean, I don't know that you have that on every company that's in there, but you know, you did mention it in passing, and I think it's worth pointing out.
You bet. You bet. Yeah. Again, we've added, I think it was 5 million here recently. So, yeah.
Yeah, 5 million mobile numbers. And I mean, that to me is a huge leg up on your competition,
100%.
because the people who aren't using Leo likely aren't getting access to that one data point that may be the difference, quite likely could be the difference of you getting an appointment and you not getting that appointment. You know, some of the best producers that I know, Micah Salas is a good one. He's pretty active on LinkedIn, but I know for a fact he's dialing at 7 o'clock in the morning to contractors on their cell phone. Why? Because he knows they'll answer at that time. Well, why do we want to call somebody when they're not going to answer? You know, I know that it's a little bit outside the norm, but at the end of the day, I think we come with preconceived bias that people need to hear us in the framework we want them to hear us in. That is the exact wrong way to think about prospecting in this game. You need to meet people where they want to be met. There are a lot of people out there that would prefer to communicate over text these days. I'm not a huge fan of that. But if that's where my prospect wants me to communicate with them, you can be sure that's where I'm going to communicate with them. So I think part of it too is just understanding, and the more you get into, you know, I don't necessarily want to say niche, but classes of business, and you're more comfortable and you understand how these people operate, you're going to know how to communicate them and meet them where they want to be met. And that's why it's so crucial that Leo has that ability to drill down to those specific subcodes inside of the NAICS code to become an expert in that class, right? I could say, oh, I'm a construction expert, but you know as well as I do, how many different subclasses are there inside of construction? I can tell you right now, I'm really good in plumbers, HVAC, and electricians. I know what they should be doing. I know what they're likely not doing. I know that I can help them get there. I can help them forecast their growth profitably, because I've worked with everybody from the guy and his spouse with a truck in their own garage to growing up to a $50 or $100 million company. I'll compete against anybody in that space.
Yep.
And I feel like I like my chances. But if you were to have me go work a commercial general contractor that's doing, you know, construction for retail shopping centers or whatever, I'm not going to be as strong there because I don't have a bunch of that business. I've never called on it. And so for me, knowing that I can say, look, I can have it integrate with my AMS and pull that book out that says these are exactly the types of plumbers David wants. And oh, by the way, here's a lead list that's got all of the other ones that are like that we have in our database. Like, I don't know what other gift I'd want for Christmas every year than that.
Yeah, listen, and it only gets better, right? We're, you know, 3 months ago, we didn't have the 5 million additional contacts. We did. Guess what we're going to have come a couple months down the road? That whole big project we've been working on for the last year, as far as getting more contact data, that'll be rolling out again next quarter. So, yep.
I love it. What have we missed?
David, I don't think much. I think, you know, the mobile device, I agree with you. I'm a tech head, always have been, and I use my phone for everything. So I think the phone app is superior. The UI, being able to use that is great. I think for your users, I think what they need to do is go to meetleo.com/David Carothers, right? And we'll be offering some deals to the Killing Commercial group. So just go into that, like I said, meetleo.com, David Carothers, and we'll treat you good.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Thank you for that. I had no idea that was coming. I want to be clear about something though. I know that I'm coming across energetic and passionate today. It's not because this is an infomercial. It's because we actually do use the product in our agency. And when I'm talking about something that we use, I have to be passionate about it or I'm not going to use it. And Leo is a brand we know, like, and trust. For all of the reasons that I mentioned on this podcast. And I think whether you're an individual producer who's looking to up your game and maybe the agency principal is a little more old school and doesn't want to support you, there's a plan for that.
Yeah.
Or if you're that progressive thinking agency that wants to get all your producers on board, there's a plan for that too. Yeah. So I highly encourage you to reach out. And if you don't know how to spell my name, look at the show notes of the podcast. I'm not going to try and get you to write it down while you're driving by spelling it out because it is a lot of letters. But I do think it's worth at least you going in, looking at what they offer, maybe even getting on a demo and seeing how it could help you. But look at it through the lens of how much time could this save me? Because time is money. And that adds up in a hurry. It's an intangible to us most of the time, so we don't think about it that way. But if you had more time to call and more time to knock on doors because you're not chained to your desk doing the research before you go, how much more money could you really make? And the number one thing that's going to do is it's going to make you change the answer to what is my hourly rate, because it's going to continue to go up and continue to go up. And I just think that you would be remiss if you didn't set yourself up for success by at least going in and exploring this. And so there's nothing else, man. I think we can wrap up there.
I think so. I appreciate you, David. Thank you. And for your community too.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So he's saying go to meetleo.com/David Carothers, my name. And I want to be clear, Scott, you can tell me this. Yeah. Do you pay me anything at all for sending people there?
No, you didn't even know about this link prior to us even talking.
No. So I want you guys to understand something. I try and as often as possible when I am talking about an actual product out there, I do not take affiliate marketing revenue from anybody. There is no commission. There's no money changing hands behind the scenes. What I do is I support the people who support Killing Commercial, and Leo is kind enough to be a sponsor for our annual event in Key West, Florida this year, Producers in Paradise. And the reason that I do that is because it benefits our entire community, not my pocketbook. I don't need any commission from Leo to recommend their product. I need Leo to be successful and have more of you use it so they can continue to develop and become that best in class that they already kind of are, but make it even that much stronger at what they're doing. So again, there's no pay to play in my world. If it doesn't benefit the Killing Commercial community as a whole, I'm not gonna take any kind of financial consideration to have somebody on. Meet Leo was on before they were a contributor to the community. They saw the value in that, and the community sees the value in them. So now they're in the family. But I just want to be clear on that. I don't get paid for this. So you're not helping me by going to the link, as much as I know that some of you would just love to line my pockets. I say that tongue in cheek. You're helping yourself, and I encourage you to do that. So with that, we're going to wrap up. We'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.